7:37, this is Breakfast with Stephen and Ellie.
And it's time to go through the papers now. Joining us this morning is writer and journalist Emma Wolfe, alongside political editor of HuffPost UK, Kevin Schofield. Good morning to you both. Very, very good to see you both. Kevin, let's start with the Mail, shall we? And Rwanda flights put back until January at the earliest.
Yeah. So this policy was first announced when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister. Priti Patel was Home Secretary at the time. That was Easter 22, so a long time ago. And they're now earlier this year it was briefed that they could potentially take off in the summer. They've obviously given up on that idea now, and they're now looking at January at the very earliest because of the various legal difficulties that the government is having trying to get it literally off the ground. And the political danger obviously for Rishi Sunak here is that if these flights don't take off before the next election, which potentially could be next spring, then there'll be no point with the Conservatives even turning up. It's that bad,
They'll just hold off the election, won't they?
Well,
they've got.
You would think.
Technically, they've got another year.
Technically, the latest thing goes January 25.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't think we've ever had a January general election. So that would be very unusual. So probably October is where the smart money's going for next year. But even then, I think it's starting to look a little bit dicey. And if you remember, this is a key plank of Rishi Sunak's attempt to, quote, stop the boats from crossing the channel. And, they're miles off
when it's just
that.
time to give up on something? When you've tried a relationship like 10 times and each time it doesn't work? Don't you feel like that about these Rwanda flights? They've tried so many times. There have been various high court battles, various reasons why the flights can't take off. Then the cost of it, look, eye-watering. Each person that you deport, it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of pounds.
But haven't we spent the money already?
Yeah. I just think it's a non-starter. And I'm not even sure, Kevin, that on the doorstep people are going to judge them on this. I feel like it's already priced in that the whole Rwanda thing is a disaster. Everybody knows it's been a fiasco.
Yeah.
They've tried so many times. There's been stopped on the tarmac, for goodness sake, those flights that were literally about to take off.
They were on the plane.
Aren't people just assuming that the Rwanda thing is a bit of a damp square
Well, I think you're right. I think people's expectations of the government now are so low. That you're probably right. It'll be a surprise to people, I think, if this actually happens. But it's such a key ingredient of their whole immigration policy. The policy of the Conservatives at the last election was to reduce net migration. Now, at that time, it was 236,000. It's now over 600,000. So if there's to stand any chance whatsoever, things like this need to actually happen.
Yeah, I know, but we're not going to ever be in a position where we're deporting hundreds of thousands of people to Rwanda.
It's meant to be the deterrent, though, isn't it? It's the deterrent.
Yeah.
But it doesn't appear to be acting as a deterrent as yet, because the boats are still coming and people are still coming.
Well, if anything, you'd want to come over in a boat before these Rwanda flights take off. If anything, it'll be encouraging people to make that trip.
Well, that's it. And now that they've watered down the illegal migration bill a little bit now, because they're saying that people won't be getting deported until the bill becomes law. Whereas when they initially announced it, it was from this day, I think it was March, anyone arriving after today will get deported. Now they're saying, no, it won't be till it becomes law, which won't be till later in the year. So,
OK, let's have a look at eco-warriors in the Express, Emma. They want to paralyse London.
From one sorry saga to yet another sorry saga. Yeah, this is Just Stop Oil are set to descend on the capital, on London, at the start of this week. They're calling it Monday. They're calling it Everyone Week. Which I think lots of people might disagree with.
I think so. So
they're planning it as their biggest week of action ever. They want to paralyse the capital, basically. They've already disrupted, well, we know the snooker, the Ashes, Chelsea Flower Show, George Osborne's wedding. What about security? Wimbledon.
They were on live TV
Royal
last
Albert
night.
Hall and live TV.
Was it the last leg?
And BBC Proms.
BBC Proms, yeah, Royal Albert Hall.
You've got to say that it's disruptive. But they're incredibly ingenious and incredibly
determined. They are getting into things. They're getting tickets for things. Yeah.
Do you know what? I was speaking to people at the Ashes who said exactly that, Emma. They said, one thing you'll say, they're good at getting tickets. You want to be friends with them in that sense.
Want to join Just Stop Oil?
Yeah, I think
they're getting bigger. I think the story now is about what Just Stop Oil are doing. I really don't think we're talking about their cause.
No, not at all. Yeah.
We're not having a rational discussion about climate change, but we're not even hearing what they want to say. We're just going to see kind of where are they going to turn up? Where are they going to turn up at next? What are they going to throw? Is it going to be orange confetti or paint or powder or what?
Yeah.
I think they need to.
They have become the story, haven't they?
They have become the story in themselves.
Yeah.
And also the people, as you can see in the Express, other people getting involved out of frustration, people kind of trying to haul the protesters off the road so that they can drive through and things like that. I think that's, you know, the public kind of order aspect of it is becoming more.
And those people are seen as heroes as well in the eyes of the public. Those people
I think
that
there's
get
a lot of
involved.
anger and frustration that people are just turning up at things and disrupting and delaying everybody.
Do we know what they've got in store for us? Is there any sense of what
Lots of
their plans
slow
are?
marching, apparently. Slow marches. It's kind of a
marching
bit
and orange paint, probably.
orange stuff. Yeah, exactly. So we shall see.
Kevin, in The Guardian, these sort of, what they value as low-value degrees are under fire.
Yeah, so there's been a debate for a long time, political debate, as to whether too many people are going to university now, and they're coming out with degrees which don't get them great jobs, and it's costing, the argument goes, it's costing the public purse because obviously the government has to pay for them to go to university. So on Monday, apparently, Rishi Sunak is going to announce that there will be a cap on the numbers of these low-value degrees. So unless the degree can be proven that you get that degree, you come out at the end of it and you get a good quality job, then they're going to limit the numbers. I don't know how they're going to identify which courses are low value and which aren't.
Well, Mickey Mouse degrees, we used to call them.
Mickey Mouse degrees,
low value sounds a bit woke.
Yeah.
Call them Mickey Mouse
And
degree.
also, it depends who you ask and what you think of things. I mean, I had an English degree, and you don't necessarily come out of that with any skill or vocation, but it's a good broad degree, and you've done your academic sort of work for 3 years. I mean, who decides what's a high value and a low value?
Absolutely. And also they're saying in The Guardian, I think they make a good point actually, that a lot of these so-called low-value degrees, they're the kind that people from less advantaged working class backgrounds will go to rather than maybe Oxford. Because they're saying here that Oxford basically won't be affected by this because they're all very high-class degrees. So it may well widen the sort of attainment opportunity gap, you know, by...
But also life is about happenstance and weird coincidences, and you may go to university to study a certain thing and then you meet someone else, or you meet another tutor and you start to study a different subject, or you fall into a profession. You can't really judge it on these strict criteria.
No, you can't, but is there an element of saying universities have invented just various weird degrees just to get people in? I mean, at one stage, I don't know where it was, you could do a degree in Klingon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is all. Or Barbie studies or whatever.
It probably didn't run very long. But yeah, all these things do exist in various places. It's just like, well, what?
But you make a good point about universities like needing the students in to make ends meet effectively, and this is obviously not going to help if the government are going to say, well, that course there you can only have, say, 30 students. You know, that's a lot of money that they're losing out on that they might need.
Yeah. Emma, let's have a look at the front page of The Eye, shall we? And this is children being exposed to toxic levels of lead in school drinking water.
Yeah, this is really quite shocking, and it's not really covered that much in the rest of the papers that I could see. But anyway, lead, which is one of the most poisonous metals in the world, has been found. So 50 years ago, lead was banned, metal was banned in plumbing. And 50 years later, they're finding lead in pipes and plumbing in schools, but not only in schools, in nursery sinks, in classrooms, in staff rooms, in toilets, in medical rooms, in head teachers' offices. Really, really shocking. And schools are being told to sort of flush the water through their taps for a couple of minutes in the morning so that kids aren't drinking this stuff. And very high levels. I mean, 25 times higher than safety levels of lead. I mean, I don't know why you're smiling. It's
I'm not smiling.
horrific to think of it.
I'm grimacing.
It's all very well for us. We can pop into a shop and buy an overpriced bottle of water. But when your little one is in nursery and you think of them drinking out of the nursery taps, which, you know, most of the time they're licking the floor and doing all sorts, so maybe we shouldn't be worrying about the water. Yeah. I've seen my 2-year-old licking the bar that people hold onto on the tube. I mean, you can't stop children being exposed to horrendous levels of poison.
You can't control that, but you'd like to think that when you send them to nursery or send them to school, that the water that they're drinking isn't going to potentially harm them.
And do you remember a few weeks ago the story about asbestos being found in many, many buildings, and school buildings as well, and it's dangerous once it's disturbed. If there's any building work, it then becomes sort of active. So I think, you know, we kind of need to rebuild the entire country and look at the what's going on inside the buildings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah.
Well, but let's focus on something which at least affects all of us now. The best crisps. I mean, I do like a crisp.
Well, I was going to ask. I'm
Let's have a
glad.
taste test.
You hear that? Do you like
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Do you like a salt and vinegar crisp?
Oh,
love the salt and
yes.
vinegar.
Salt and
Very
vinegar.
traditional. Well, actually, it's quite interesting here. So, well, first of all, the story is they got 64 keen crisp eaters to
Right.
test. Sounds like a great job, that.
That
To
must have been a
test-
great job to recruit for.
Absolutely. They must have had difficulty getting it down to 64, I would have thought. But anyway, and so the best one, apparently, from their extensive studies, is the Co-op's hand-cooked sea salt and Chardonnay wine vinegar.
Now, I've had them.
Yeah,
Would you
me too.
agree?
They are actually very good.
There you
they?
go then.
Because
Yeah.
they're
Chardonnay wine vinegar,
it's-
that's
Yeah.
the bit I love. It's
Yeah.
not salt and vinegar, it's
Yeah.
Chardonnay wine
just
vinegar.
elevated.
We've moved
Are they
on.
good?
Yeah.
they're very crisp.
Yeah.
Correct, that's what it says, yeah.
They're very vinegary.
Yep, the zingy
Really
taste,
nice.
mouth-watering aroma, and perfect crispy texture.
Are they a big bag?
Yeah.
150 gram, 175 for 150 gram. That's quite a big bag.
The kind
yeah.
that you're meant to share with 10 people
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you just
Yeah,
have them for
but you
yourself
don't.
It's a share
in the
bag,
car.
yeah.
Where have they gone?
It's a great choice for those who like a sharp kick to their crunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
They are good.
Stephen.
I'd attest to that as well.
Second place was Aldi, which again, sea salt and Chardonnay vinegar. What happened to salt and vinegar? I don't know what happened.
Well, they try and make it sound good.
Are they the
don't
ridged ones?
Oh, I know.
I like
It doesn't
those.
get
Yeah, are
that.
they crunchy like kettle
like-
It
chips? Are
doesn't
they
get
big
that
and
level of
chunky?
detail,
Right,
unfortunately.
well, those are the ones I
But there's also, panellists also praised Morrison's sea salt and Suffolk cider vinegar.
Suffolk cider.
Cider
So-
vinegar,
so
yeah,
there you
that
go.
sounds good.
We all like salt and vinegar then.
But it's interesting. It's the
Yeah, well,
cheese-
yeah, it's like a British tradition, isn't
It's
it?
the cheaper brands.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting,
Aldi
isn't
and
it?
Co-op and Morrison's.
It says
It's
that
not
your
the,
kettle chips and all of that were beaten by the
Yeah, but is that
own
because
brand.
they make them? Yeah, they do chuck in masses of salt and vinegar.
I think so. I
Rather
think there's a
than just-
lot of salt, which is the thing that keeps you going. That's the
Yeah.
moorish bit.
Yeah.
And probably
It does
loads
exactly
of
what it
deep
says.
fried.
Exactly what it says in the packet.
On the packet.
Salt and vinegar.
Oh,
You
you're
don't
making
want-
me hungry.
I
You don't want
know.
one that's been waved in front of a bit of salt,
No.
and then
And you don't want those flimsy packs where you have 2 crisps and they're gone.
No. No. Mind you, I do like a Pringle, salt and vinegar Pringle.
Oh, stop. Yeah, that-
You can't stop.
Don't
Once
see
you
any
can't
bit
stop.
Pringles.
But the problem with those is by the time I finish, the skin does start to peel off the roof of my mouth.
All the acid.
I
from the
feel
vinegar.
thirsty just thinking about it. There's so
Oh.
much, yeah.
I'm on a diet, so this is the worst thing you're talking about.
worst.
I think getting up early makes you super hungry all day.
Yeah.
I think that starting work at like 3 or 4 makes you really quite weirdly ravenous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
it's a tough life. Emma, Kevin, thank you so much. Thank you. God, I'm hungry now.
I'm actually drooling slightly.
It's 'cause
Anyway.
you're on your
Yeah,
diet.
but that's age.
That's oh, good way, good fair point, yeah.